So, over the years, I've been slowly acquiring a large collection of assorted VR and AR headsets from my 10 or so years now of developing VR apps. And I don't know, I thought it might be kind of fun to do a little review of each one of these headsets and get a little bit of I guess, like a developer's perspective on what my opinion is on these headsets. I've got a lot of the mainstream stuff and a lot of quite a few maybe weirder, lesser known headsets that maybe not everyone has heard about. So I thought it might be kind of fun to just do like a short review, like what I thought of the headset when it came out. Was it good at the time of its release? Would I buy the headset now? And just kind of talk about some little fun quirks and stuff involving each of these weird little things you put on your face. So yeah, let's just go by one. Let's go ahead and get started with the good old Meta Quest 1, or the Oculus Quest, as it was called when it was released. So the Quest 1 came out in 2019, and I believe most people will agree that this was really the first 6DoF consumer mainstream standalone headset that you didn't need to connect to your PC to have a real VR experience. We had stuff like the Oculus Go and Google Cardboard and stuff, but that was mostly just gimmicks and didn't really represent, I think, what VR was really capable of. This headset for me was really exciting because for me the ease of putting a headset on and getting your game set up quickly was really the big barrier for a lot of people getting into VR, and I think the Quest 1 really kind of broke that barrier down and made VR accessible to a lot more people, including a lot of kids for better or for worse. But this thing, I believe it was like 1400 by 1600 resolution, OLED screens, which was super cool because the MetaQuest don't have OLED screens anymore. So in that case, it does make this headset still a little bit special today. At least if you use it as a PC headset. I definitely wouldn't use it standalone anymore, as it's not quite strong enough to run a lot of modern stuff. I have a custom head strap on here. This is not what the original head strap looked like. This was a third-party Halo strap. I do not remember the brand, I'm sorry, but it definitely made it a lot more comfortable for me. I remember the original head strap not being that comfortable. I used the Oculus Touch shaped controllers. This shape of controller was already being used with the Oculus Rift on the PC, and I kind of just transferred this design over to be used on the Quest. Good controller. I feel like, this design is still widely used today, minus the tracking rings, which most headsets have gotten rid of. But honestly, great controller, great headset. For the time it came out, I believe this headset was amazing. Like, at the time of release, I'd give this a 10 out of 10. Would I buy one today? Definitely not. You get a lot more value for your money than an Oculus Quest 1. Maybe if you can get it cheap, it might still make a good PC VR headset, especially with those OLED screens. I really like those deep blacks on the OLED. So, yeah, honestly, great headset. Now, I have a Quest 2, but I'm currently loaning it out to a friend, so unfortunately it's not on the shelf of developer headsets at the moment, so I'll just go ahead and move on to the Quest 3 here. To me, the Quest 3, I think, is kind of this is the standard for standalone VR right now. The big jumps that the Quest 3 made over the Quest 2 were the full color pass-through cameras, which to me are huge. I personally really like pass-through and AR experiences, so for me that's really cool. It added the pancake lenses, which reduced the width of the headset by a lot. And for me, like, the number one thing for VR is comfort. So just shrinking the whole size of the headset was really huge for me. And I think it was huge for a lot of people as well. In addition to that, the headset was a lot stronger, had higher resolution. It was just, overall, just a great upgrade to the Quest line. The controllers, I believe, were the first controllers for the Quest that got rid of the tracking rings. So The you know, still mostly the same shape as the controllers they were selling before, but a little less clunky with the rings. Personally, these are some of my favorite VR controllers of all time. Really big fan. Great headset. Quest 3, I would give it like a 9 out of 10 at time of release. Just for being good, but for not innovating too much. It wasn't like a ground-shattering headset release or anything. And for now, I'd still give it a 9 out of 10. This is a great headset. I'd honestly recommend this to any, this is my default headset to recommend to anyone that's getting into VR and wants just a good quality VR headset that can do standalone or PC. All right, now we're getting into some of the more weird stuff. So this was, I believe, it's part of the Ichi-E, I believe it's pronounced the Chiyu line, which I think roughly translates to adventure in English, which is very funny considering what this headset was going for. So headsets like the Chiyu 3 really were filling a void where I believe the MetaQuest was banned in China for a time. I think it might be unbanned now. I really should have looked this up before. But for a while, I feel there was kind of almost like a gold rush in China to fill the void of the MetaQuest not being available there. So we had headsets like the Chiyu, or the Adventure, which basically their whole goal was just to look like a Quest 2 and act like a Quest 2, but be available in China. So we actually ported our game, Arcaxer, to this, worked with their team, and honestly, the company was great to work with. The headset, I'm trying to remember. I remember it working pretty closely, looking like, feeling like, and functioning pretty close to a Quest 2. Granted, it didn't have the Quest 2 library, so that's why they were paying developers to port stuff over. So you didn't get the whole big library that Meta already had. So there wasn't really a reason to get this headset if you were, outside of China. But I could see for Chinese VR enthusiasts that wanted something equivalent to the Quest 2, I think this was a good option at the time. We'll get to some other ones, like the Pico, which is a headset I think a lot more people are familiar with. So you can see the controllers were, pretty much a copy of the Quest 2, maybe a little more elongated, egg-shaped. But yeah, I mean, show this to most people and they just probably think it was a Quest 2. Yeah, functionality-wise, I remember not developing for this thing was pretty easy. I don't really remember running into any major issues. It was a pretty seamless experience to develop for. And I mean, overall solid. I think when this thing came out, I mean, it's hard to rate because like I said, this was really just filling a void in the Chinese market. But I give it like an 8 out of 10 for when it came out. And would I ever buy this now here, especially in the US? No, definitely not. But just kind of a cool piece of hardware history to me. And moving on from the Chiyu 3, we have the Chiyu Dream, which, same company, Ichi-E. For anyone that's not familiar with Ichi-E, they were I believe someone described them as kind of like the Netflix of China. They have a big streaming service, and I think they publish TV shows and movies and stuff. The Dream was sent to us shortly after the Chiyu 3, I guess just to test our app on it and make sure it also worked fine on the system. I believe this was meant to be kind of like a light version of the Chiyu 3. It actually came with this Halo strap standard, which is kind of cool. So, in my opinion, this is actually more comfortable than the Chiyu 3, even though it's kind of like a less premium version of the Chiyu 3. I don't know the specs. I'm not sure if this one was actually weaker or anything, but I would equate this to something like the Quest 3S, I believe. I think it was a lower resolution for sure. But overall, I think, it was just supposed to be a cheaper Chiyu 3. Kind of, fills all the same niches as that headset, but cheaper and I guess a little less premium, but still pretty good headset. All right, moving on to everyone's favorite HTC Vive. Now, the Vive, I think, is a very special headset for a lot of people. This, to me, was like the PC VR headset in the early days. I believe it came out, it did not come out before the Rift CV1, but it did come out, it came out before the 6DoF controllers for the Rift came out, I believe. So it was really the first, like, affordable way to have like a full 6DoF headset and controller experience in VR. God, these ones, I remember thinking they were awkward at the time, and they look even more awkward now. I was never a fan of Valve's whole like obsession with this touchpad thing that they were putting on everything. I would just rather have a thumbstick. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I've never been a fan of this thing. One now, it's heavy and clunky, and the tracking ring is kind of heavy, and the weight's weird. But at the time, this was kind of all you could get for 6DoF controllers for a while. There were things, I remember for like the Oculus DK2, there were some options for 6DoF controllers. God, I don't remember the name, but there's one that like used like magnets to determine their position, which I heard worked to varying degrees of success. But yeah, until the Rift CV1 came out, the HTC Vive was really like, this was it. You put this on, you went into VR chat, and you dressed up as Tony Hawk and had your custom kickflip animation play. Or maybe that was just me. Vive, when it came out, I'd say for innovation, for what it was and what was available, it was a 10 out of 10 headset. Would I buy this now, today? Definitely not. There's just, it's too old. There's just better options now, but God, this thing was so cool at the time. All right, so we did the Chiyu, so let's just go ahead and move on over to this Pico. I believe this is the Pico Neo 3. So this came out before, the code name for it was the Phoenix. It's the, I don't know if they called it the Neo 4. It was the first Pico with pancake lenses. We'll get to it eventually. But this thing was, I feel like it kind of filled the same niche as the Chiyu, where, it was just, this was a Chinese Quest 2. It worked pretty good. I believe they released, I don't think this thing could do PC VR when it came out, but I believe they released software later that allowed you to. Overall, I mean, the optics, the displays, everything was like pretty similar to the Quest 2. Experience was like a little jankier. But most indie devs ended up porting to the Pico as well. Including us, obviously. That's why I have one. So the library was pretty good. The experience was, overall, I'd say it felt like a Quest 2, but just a little jankier. And you know what? That's fine. It filled its niche, and it was fine. Time of release, I give it a 8 out of 10. Would I buy one now? Definitely not. Oh boy, everybody, it's the Nolo Sonic. This is another weird one I'm sure many people probably haven't heard of. The Nolo Sonic was, once again, as you could probably tell by the white design, just one of those standalone headsets around 2021 that was trying to fill that void in China for the Quest 2. This thing, we ported to this. The team was very nice to work with. The headset, however, I was not a fan of this thing. It was very, very like, if the Pico was like 10% jankier than the Quest, the Nolo Sonic was like 80% jankier. The tracking was not great. I feel like it wasn't very powerful. The displays were fine. I don't remember anything weird about the displays. It's not a very comfortable headset, as you can tell from this interface. It's just like this thin, hard leather. The headset's like bulky and kind of heavy. Default head strap was flimsy, not great. I remember getting a lot of headaches putting this thing on and off, porting our game to it. The team was really nice though. Definitely appreciate working with them. But yeah, headset was not my favorite. Oh yeah, a controller. Another another Quest 2 lookalike. Button's a little squishy. Ooh, the trigger also a little. Might have just had some dust in there. But yep, looked like a Quest 2. Worked like a Quest 2. That was sick. Alright, the Quest Pro. The Quest Pro was one of my favorite headsets. I don't use it much anymore, even though I do feel like this could still be a pretty decent like PC VR headset. So for those that don't know, the Quest Pro came out after the Quest 2. It's kind of a Quest 2.5, but it was marketed as like a premium headset. It was pretty expensive when it came out at $1,500, and at the time, before the price drop, it dropped down to $1,000 later. I really don't think it was worth it at $1,500, even for how cool it was. Anyway, the main differences between this and the Quest 2 are the pancake lenses. So it has that that nice low profile, much sleeker looking headset. Feels better on the face because there's less weight, pulling down the front of your face. It had a full color pass-through for the first time. Not as good looking as the Quest 3, but still impressive enough for the time. It was a decent improvement over the Quest 2 pass-through. It has some features that are still super useful as a headset today, including eye tracking. And I think it's called local dimming, where I believe it can kind of darken parts of the image that kind of help. So it's not really like having an OLED screen. It's not an OLED screen, but you get a little more of that experience with it, which is nice. And then the controllers were also these were the, I don't know if I said the Quest 3 controllers were the first ones to not have the tracking ring. These were the actual first ones to not have the tracking ring. The difference was the Quest 3 tracked its controllers all through the cameras on the headset, where the Quest Pro controllers actually ran Android in each of the controllers. They had their own tracking cameras on them, and then the controllers tracked their position inside out. So theoretically, they could track their position even if the headset couldn't see it, which was cool in theory, but in reality, I haven't used this in a while, so I don't know if they've fixed things, but for a long time, there were just so many bugs, like just problems with the controllers connecting to the headset. Sometimes the controllers would like disconnect and just like never reconnect, and it was just a nightmare getting these to work consistently. Controller was really good. I mean, it was basically just a Quest 2 controller without the ring. It had a couple extra features, like it had this like capacitive thing, touchpad here. I don't remember it actually being used for anything. It might have just been the same as the one on the Quest 2, where it could just sense if your thumb was here or not. So maybe I'm just making stuff up. The bottom had this little attachment thing here, where I actually have it attached. You could put this like stylus nub down here, and it was pressure sensitive. You could actually use your controller as like a pen and like draw on a surface for apps that supported that. I don't know anyone that actually used this, but it was a really cool idea. Maybe someone out there is just like, oh yeah, I draw every day with my Quest Pro stylus pen. I just don't know about it. I don't know. It was a cool idea, but I just I wish it was used more. I mean, not a lot of people got the Quest Pro, so probably not a lot of devs were going to support features just for the Quest Pro anyway. But honestly, the big thing with this headset for me is the eye tracking, because you can connect it to your PC for PC VR and use that eye tracking for stuff on your PC. So to me, this is still a really good PC VR headset to buy even today. Even if it's still pretty pricey at $1,000, but I'd still consider it a premium headset just for all of its features. I'd give this thing, like, when it came out, for its price, I don't know, like a 7.5 out of 10, just for the value we're getting. Today, I'd actually rate it higher. I think this is still a decent headset to buy. For standalone, it's only as strong as a Quest 2, really. I think maybe it had a little more RAM. So for standalone, it's not going to be able to run all the stuff that Quest 3 can. And the pass-through doesn't really look that good. But yeah, honestly, if you could get one of these used maybe for a little bit cheaper, I would actually maybe consider it. So yeah, solid headset. All right, we're gonna move down here now because I'm tired of holding my hand up in the air on the second shelf. So this is the PSVR 2, and I have a very mixed relationship with this guy. On one hand, on paper, I want to love this headset so bad. So if you're thinking of getting a PSVR 2, really the one deciding factor should be, do I have a PlayStation? And maybe, do I have a PlayStation and do I not have a PC that's really like maybe powerful enough for PC VR? If that's the case and you want like a PC VR experience, this is your option. You connect this to your PS5, and yeah, you could. It feels a lot like PC VR gaming because you're connected to a machine that's basically as strong as a gaming PC. So this headset has OLED screens, which is great. The colors on these screens are amazing. However, it's using Fresnel lenses, which at the time the PSVR came out, we were already having headsets with PSVR 2. By the time this came out, we already had headsets with pancake lenses, so it was kind of disappointing for this to have Fresnel. But it's like, I don't know, it's very light because there's no compute in here. This isn't a standalone headset, so it's a pretty comfortable headset. But I don't know what it is about the Fresnel lenses on this thing specifically. I just have so much trouble getting in focus. Like I never had trouble getting something like the Quest 2 in focus for some reason, and I don't know what's up with their optical stack, but it's just hard to get these lenses in focus whenever I use this headset. Now they released a PC VR adapter for this, so you can use this as a PC VR headset, which is great because it's pretty cheap. Like overall, this is one of the cheaper PC VR headsets you can buy, even if you don't have a PS5. But I just keep going back to the Quest 3 for my PC VR headset because this thing's just not that comfortable, and I don't know. There's like with the PC software, there's a lot of connection issues sometimes. Like, God forbid if these controllers ever disconnect from your controller's Bluetooth, it's over for you. You're going to spend 2 hours trying to get them to reconnect for some reason. Speaking of controllers, I really like, so these have like the PS5 style haptics in them. So does the headset, by the way. The headset actually has head haptics, which is really cool. So the haptics are amazing. I don't know if the haptic can be used on PC. They might have patched it by now, but last I heard, or at least at release, you couldn't use the cool haptics in these controllers. I like how they feel. I like how they look. What I don't like is when the headset is on and I'm trying to find my controller. Just because these are the only VR controllers shaped like this, like I'm trying to grab them without being able to see, it's like really hard for my hand to like figure out like to go through this ring and grab it like this, and it's just like not super natural. So sometimes that's kind of annoying if you're trying to just grab your controllers without turning on the pass-through. That's another good thing to talk about. This has pass-through. It's just black and white though. You can't really read screens or anything with it like the Quest 3 pass-through, but it's good enough for, grabbing a drink and finding controllers. This also has eye tracking, which I also don't know if their PC software can actually utilize it yet. I'm pretty sure it can now. So that is a cool feature that this has. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's like, yeah, do you have a PS5 and you want to try some higher end VR than what you'd get on a standalone headset, then this is probably your best option. If you're looking for a PC VR headset, so this thing is DisplayPort, like it is direct DisplayPort into your graphics card, so you're not going to get like video compression from the streaming that you'd get from like Quest 3, but like the screen is also it's just not as clear as the Quest 3 either. So like even with video compression, like the Quest 3 just looks better to me. I'm sure this is like super subjective, and a lot of people are probably like, "Oh, OLED screens on the PSVR 2 look better to me. I'm sure to some people they do, but for me, I just like, I cannot. I wanted to love this. I bought the adapter. I used this thing for like a couple days on my PC and gave up. Uh, Overall, I think it's a really cool headset. I'm glad it exists, but it is just not for me. All right, this is the Vive XR Elite. This came out, I believe, shortly after the Quest Pro. It was kind of one of the headsets that came out with the big explosion of pancake lens headsets, which this does use, which is a big contributing factor to how small it is, which is my favorite part of this headset. So the Vive XR Elite is a standalone headset, so it can run standalone apps. We also ported our game to this. Pretty seamless porting process. I enjoyed working with Vive. Very cool company. The XR Elite, I honestly thought I was like gonna use this a lot more than I did after I got it. But to me, it was really uncomfortable on my head. And like I said, like comfort is like my number one thing with VR headsets. And this thing just like, I don't know, it just hurt. It hurt my face, which is weird because this thing's battery is on the back. So a lot of the weight is on the back of your head. But for some reason, it just didn't help. Like, I don't know if it's just because this like facial interface is kind of like, I don't know, it's like kind of thin and kind of get like a lot of pressure in like one area around your head. I don't know, the comfort just wasn't there for me, and I really wanted to like I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this, is gonna be my new PC VR daily driver headset, and it just did not end up that way. The controllers are kind of almost like a halfway point between the Vive Wand and like a Quest 2 controller. I mean, they're decent. Works like a Quest 2 controller, gets the job done, no complaints. They are rechargeable, which a lot of VR controllers aren't. For better, for worse. Personally, I prefer to just throw a AA battery into my controller because, I don't know, I just forget to charge controllers sometimes. I don't want to wait for them to charge, but that's just me. Maybe you like rechargeable controllers better. This thing, so like I said, I had pancake lenses. The optics were pretty good. It had this, I believe it's called a diopter, where you can adjust this, and I believe if you have like, so I'm trying to get to focus, you have like prescription lenses, you can adjust this to adjust the focus. So that is really cool. I think if you wear glasses and you don't have like prescription inserts, this actually might still be a really cool option as your headset if it is comfortable for you. Like I said, it might just be the shape of my head, but I just could not wear this thing for a long period of time. This thing does have pass-through. I believe the pass-through was monoscopic. I might be wrong on this. I remember there not being a lot of depth in the pass-through, so it couldn't really be used for AR or anything, but it was useful enough for just, grabbing a drink or whatever. And the pass-through was color, so that was nice. Another cool thing about this headset is that you can disconnect the back battery if you're using it as a PC headset. And they made like sunglasses attachments for this, where you'd kind of just wear it as like sunglasses, and it was supposed to be lighter. Unfortunately, when they sent me my dev unit, I never got the sunglass attachment, so I could never test it out. But I really wanted to because it sounded cool. So this headset is another one I really like conceptually. I think it did a lot of cool stuff, but the comfort wasn't there for me, and that's the number one thing. So unfortunately, didn't actually use it much, but I don't know. I like it. He's a good boy. Oh boy, guys, it's time for the Pimax Portal. Oh man, this thing. Start off by saying, so unfortunately, this is the only Pimax headset I have. I know a lot of people like Pimax headsets for PC VR, for like super premium experiences, and they're really nice for driving sims and stuff for their like crazy higher end displays. Unfortunately, this is all I have because we were supposed to port our game to this, but we needed some software features that I don't know if they were in their SDK or not at the time, but they were supposed to get back to me on when my issues were going to be resolved, and they just never did. So we didn't end up actually porting to this thing. Okay, where do I start with this? So, I actually really liked the concept of this. So the idea was, outside of the enclosure, this was basically like a Nintendo Switch. So you had your screen, it ran an Android-based operating system. Let me try to find the controllers back here. Oh, got too much stuff going on. So, as you might have noticed, these look a little bit like Switch controllers, and I think the whole idea of this was that it was supposed to vaguely resemble a Switch. So what I really liked about these controllers were they have magnets in them, like the Switch 2. So for me, this was like, the Switch 2 copied the Pimax Portal the whole time. No. So you would just clip these into the side, just like the Switch 2. They're just attached with magnets, and there you go. You got a kind of like a smaller Switch by Pimax. Now, software. I did not use this thing like at all outside of the short time I spent developing on it, so I don't know if anyone actually started making apps for this. Now, granted, it just runs Android, so like you could just run any of your Android games in it, and I'm sure you could probably hack a way to use these controllers in, I don't know, Genshin Impact or something. I know it shipped with some games that had like official support for Android, but yeah, I doubt the software support for this thing really went anywhere based on its success. So yeah, the handheld experience was like, it was like, okay, this is a smartphone. I can run smartphone games on it with a controller. So if you're into that, maybe running emulation, like, it was kind of cool. Honestly, I like the way it feels. I like the look of it. Like I said, I really liked these magnetic controllers. But yeah, I just didn't use it much. So outside of handheld mode, remove these magnetic attachments real quick. You would insert the screen into the enclosure, like so, and you would mount it on your face. And in that, you might say that, that kind of feels like a Samsung Gear VR or a Google Cardboard. And that's kind of what it felt like, and unfortunately what it looked like in the headset. So the nice thing about, a standalone headset is the inside of this headset does not collect dust. Usually it's airtight. Nothing's going to get on that screen. Where with something like this, you pull this out. It's a touchscreen, so you're going to be touching it, and you're going to get smudges and dust and all kinds of gunk all over this. And then you put it into the enclosure, and you look at it through a lens, and now you get to look at all that gunk magnified onto your eyeball, which is not great. So that wasn't great. The weight distribution is really, really not great because it's just all front loaded on the front. So this thing was just pulling down on your face the whole time, constantly coming off your head. Default strap was not great. So comfort on this thing was like a 1. The controllers, very, very interesting actually. So you got this like Quest style enclosure, and then you just kind of, excuse me, I'm holding my phone and trying to do this at the same time. You would just insert the controller into this enclosure like so, and then yeah, now it's a Quest 2 controller with a lot of buttons and stuff. So that was very cool conceptually. However, between the comfort, the smudges on the screen, the software not really being there, this thing just didn't. I don't know. I really like what they were going for. I think it was ambitious. It was a very cool idea. But yeah, it just wasn't. I want to say it wasn't executed well, but I don't know if there really was a way to execute this well. I just don't think there's a way to make this idea work super good. I think as like an Android emulation device that you can also use to like watch Game of Thrones in a theater, I guess that works okay. But for like 6DoF VR gaming, definitely not great. Would I buy one of these today? No, I would get a Switch 2, and I would get a Quest, and have those be two separate things that do their own things, and they don't need to be combined together. But I appreciate their gumption. It was a very cool idea. I just don't think we live in the right reality for it. All right, back up to second level of the shelf. Now that my arm is recovered. So this is the Pico Neo 4. So this came out after the Neo 3, obviously, and around the time the Quest Pro came out, and it was another headset using pancake lenses, which was very cool because there weren't a whole lot of headsets doing that yet. So the whole profile of it is it was thinner than most headsets at the time. If you're wondering why there's concept car camo on this, it's because this is a dev unit, and hopefully they don't send assassins to kill me. I'm sure it's been. I can probably film this headset, right? I'm not going to get in trouble. I hope I don't get in trouble. Anyway, Pico Neo 4 had color pass-through, but it was, I believe it was monoscopic, especially considering this is the camera and there's one of them. So the pass-through didn't have any depth, which wasn't great, but it was color, so that was something. So you could kind of read stuff on screens, but it wasn't as good as the Quest 3s. It had software to work with PCVR, so you could use it as a PCVR headset. The controllers, kind of funky. We went with the Quest 2 controller, but with instead of a ring, we got a swoosh. So very different. It's like every other controller that emulates the Quest 2 controller. It just it worked good enough. This headset, at the time it came out, I do think it was a good alternative to the Quest. I'm trying to remember the price. I believe it was definitely cheaper than the Quest Pro. So at the time the Quest Pro came out, it was like you could spend $1,500 on the Quest Pro, or you could get this thing, which was hundreds of dollars cheaper, had color pass through, even though it wasn't stereoscopic. And then you could, had the good old pancake lenses that now we all have come to love. So yeah, at the time, I think this was a pretty good value, a decent headset to buy. But nowadays, unless you can get this thing like super cheap, I don't think I'd pick this up. But the Pico ecosystem had a lot of indie devs porting their games to it, so the library's decent. It's not as good as the library of like the Quest 3, but if you get one of these, you can have a good time with it standalone. And like I said, you can use it as a PC VR headset as well. So overall, it's like, I don't know. It's another 8 out of 10 headset. It's pretty good. Wouldn't buy it today unless I could get it on like a deep sale or secondhand for a lot cheaper. All right, that was basically it for the VR headsets. Let's just do a couple of other weird stuff. These were the Snapchat Lens, I believe it was called. This was Snapchat's attempt at a AR glasses. I believe this was a dev unit, so they might look different now. I was not a fan of this like 90s sunglasses look when it came out. These things were cool in that they were a standalone AR headset that was all in the glasses. You didn't have to like connect these to a phone or anything. They weren't too uncomfortable. And yeah, I mean these things were kind of out there before we had anything, especially like the Ray-Ban Meta. What do they call it? The Ray-Ban Meta Vision, the one with the screen in it. However, this thing had really bad battery life, at least at the time we were debbing for it. It was like, I kid you not, the battery lasted about 5 minutes before I think it was either the battery died or it overheated. If it was just overheating, they might have fixed the issue eventually. But at the time, it was like I don't know how you would ever use this with how short you could use it for. Like, you put it on your face, you would toss a watermelon into a basket by flicking your finger for 2 minutes, and then it would overheat, and you'd have to put it on this, granted, kind of cool charging pad again. To me, the Snapchat lens is just like, this was an experiment. I don't think anyone should buy one of these, but it was just it was a company's attempt at some AR stuff that I don't think worked out, or I don't know, it's hard to tell what their intentions were with this. Like, was this just like a thing to get in developers' hands for like making apps for the future, for stuff they might make later, or did they actually want consumers to buy this? I don't know. But yeah, honestly, wasn't great. All right, last one on the shelf. These are AR glasses. These are the X-Real, I believe the Pros are what they called them. So these are not, obviously not a VR headset. These are more just for like consuming 2D media. So you put them on your face, you connect them to your phone or their own device called the Beam, and you can watch movies and browse the internet and stuff with them, and they're pretty okay. I keep buying these because I'm like, surely the next version is gonna be one I use, right? I bought the Airs, barely use them at all, and then I saw these and I was like, well, that's not the optics are better. They got these things called the bird bath optics now, so they're thinner. They had wider I believe this thing has like I think it was like a 70-degree FOV. I'm like, that's pretty good. It's like 20 less than the Quest 2. That's probably good. Unfortunately, the vertical FOV, as you can see the screens in there, that it does not fill the whole lens of the sunglasses. It's just the length of this little screen in here. The vertical FOV is pretty bad. Like, it feels like you're looking at a postage stamp attached, two postage stamps put together on the front of your sunglasses. I don't know. I keep getting tricked into buying these. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put these on in bed and I'm gonna watch anime. It's gonna be a great time, and then I just never use them. But I like the idea. I think they're cool. I like that they look like sunglasses and not like this. However, I definitely do not think these are worth the money yet. Maybe they have another one coming out soon, or not soon, but announced, called Project Aura, which is these with more FOV and better screens, and they have cameras in them and run Android XR, and I'm sure I'm also going to buy them and be like, this time for sure the sunglasses AR are going to be cool, and I'm going to use them every day, and then I'm going to put it right here on the shelf, and it will live there forever. So anyway, that's my head-mounted display adventure review video. If you enjoyed this, check out my video game called Arcaxer. I am still working on the sequel. I assure you, for those that have been following development, it is still in development. It is just slow because our company is also working on a bigger project, and that takes more effort and a lot of our time, and it is hard to split effort on the two things. But I still love Arcaxer, and I'm still working on it. My overall takeaway from this: if you are looking for a VR headset today and you want to buy something that just overall works, is good for the price, get a Quest 3. That is my recommendation. Just get a Quest 3. It does everything. I'm sorry, it's Zuckerberg. You're gonna have Zuckerberg in your face. He's gonna be in there watching you. That's the trade-off. You gotta have Zuckerberg in there. But it's a good headset. That's it. That's the collection. Like, comment, subscribe, and buy Arcaxer. Actually, just buy Arcaxer. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. Okay, bye.